As we've been telling you, early voting is underway today across Texas. Here in Houston, voters will help decide some of the most closely watched congressional primaries in the state. After the Texas Legislature redrew 3 Houston area congressional districts last year, dismantling longtime Democratic strongholds, incumbents like Representatives Sylvia Garcia and Al Green face new political terrain and new challengers. Joining us now to break down what you need to know as early voting starts is Houston Public Media's politics reporter Andrew Schneider. Andrew, welcome.
Good morning.
How long, first of all, does early voting last?
It runs through February 27th. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. most days except for Sunday, February 22nd, when voting starts at noon. And then primary election day is Tuesday, March 3rd.
Some Houstonians may find themselves in new congressional districts starting with this election. Where can they go to find out who they're voting for and where they vote?
You can check the website for the election department of the county you live in for residents of Harris County. That's harrisvotes.com.
Okay, to the ballot itself, let's start with the federal races. Which U.S. Senate and Houston area House seats have contested primary challenges that you're following?
Well, there's the Senate seat, as we were discussing at the top of the hour, that's up for re-election. It's the Senate seat held by Republican incumbent John Cornyn. He's running for a 5th term. He's been trailing Attorney General Ken Paxton in most polls, with Houston area Congressman Wesley Hunt coming up in 3rd. On the Democratic side, we've got Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett running against Austin State Representative James Talarico. Those are the main contenders. And on the House side, I've been looking most closely at the Republican contests in the new Texas 9th and 38th congressional districts and the Democratic contests in the new 18th and 29th.
And anything we should know about those races specifically, or?
Well, there's been a late-breaking development overnight. As we were talking about at the top of the hour, President Trump weighed in on quite a few of these contests, most notably weighing in behind Alex Mueller, the former Republican candidate for Harris County judge in Texas' 9th congressional district. Her main competitor there is State Representative Briscoe Cain.
Nationwide, control of Congress is at stake this year, and there does seem to be more national attention on Texas. How come?
Well, there's last year's redistricting, which set up a wave of redistricting across the country as both sides attempted to try and gain some sort of edge over the other in terms of seats that were likely to fall into their laps. There's the perennial belief or hope on the left that Texas could flip at some point. But there's also the fact that every dollar the Republicans spend in Texas to hold onto a seat here is a dollar they can't spend on competitive races elsewhere.
The Democratic primary for U.S. Senate received some unexpected added attention on Monday. Why?
State Representative Talarico was supposed to appear on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert last night, but as Colbert explained on the show, CBS lawyers told him not to broadcast that appearance out of fear it would run afoul of recent guidance from FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, who's considering changing equal time provisions to require them for talk shows like The Late Show, which have been exempt for decades. Colbert instead posted his interview with Talarico on The Late Show's YouTube channel. Talarico characterized it as a sign that, quote, Trump is worried we're about to flip Texas.
How many seats would have to flip, not just in Texas, but nationwide, to change the balance of power in the U.S. House or Senate?
In the Senate, Democrats would need to flip about 3 or 4 seats to take control of the House and 4 to take control of the Senate. That's more of a lift in the case of the Senate because there are fewer seats in play. The most competitive Texas House races, such as Texas 9th, as we were discussing, were redrawn last year to favor the Republicans.
And I guess we should stress in the Senate it has to be 4 seats because if it were 3, it'd be a 50-50 tie, and the vice president basically breaks any 50-50 ties.
Right.
So, yeah. There are a lot of primary challenges for statewide offices as well. Which ones are you following closely and why?
The one that interests me the most at the state level is the race for Attorney General, which Paxton is vacating to run for the Senate. There's a 4-person race there on the Republican side. Right now it's being led by Congressman Chip Roy and State Senator Mayes Middleton. On the Democratic side, State Senator Nathan Johnson and former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski are leading the field. the reason it interests me is primarily because of the situation that's been hovering over the office ever since Paxton took office more than a decade ago. His legal troubles have sort of placed a cloud over the office, with the state's top law enforcement official being impeached and threatened with various state and federal charges. Whichever party wins the race this fall, that's going to change.
What about at the city and county levels?
Probably the most interesting one would be the race for Harris County Judge. It's the most powerful office in the county. We're looking at an open race because the two-term incumbent Lena Hidalgo is not running for re-election. The top Democratic candidates are former Houston Mayor Annise Parker and former Houston City Council member Letitia Plummer. On the Republican side, we're looking at a multi-party, a multi-person race. According to the most recent polls out from the Hobby Center, the Hobby School this morning, Harris County Treasurer Orlando Sanchez is leading Houston Firefighters Union President Marty Langton, but the majority of Republican voters haven't made up their mind.
Historically, turnout is lower for midterm elections than it is for the presidential election years. What are you hearing from election officials as well as campaigns themselves about efforts to get people to the polls?
I'd say the most common theme is money. Governor Abbott has a campaign war chest of more than $100 million, and he's pledged to spend freely from that in his efforts to try and flip Harris County for the Republicans. And as for what campaigns are doing to get voters to the polls, if you've got a smartphone, you're already being bombarded with text messages encouraging you to get out and vote for or against someone.
As you've been covering all these races, what are the major issues that you keep hearing are most important to Houstonians?
I'd say what I'm hearing from both sides is affordability. Prices are still too high. Taxes are still too high. Ordinary residents are having trouble making ends meet. Related to that, there's the whole question of health care costs, particularly with the Affordable Care Act subsidies having been disrupted. Other issues, of course, we've got the whole question of immigration enforcement and border security. This is an issue Republicans are arguing it's a matter of public safety. Democrats are arguing it's an abuse of power. And beyond that, there's the issue of government accountability, which goes back to what I was talking about before in the Attorney General's race.
Andrew Schneider is senior political reporter for Houston Public Media. Andrew, thank you very much.
You're welcome.